What is going on, everyone? This is Eric coming at you from just outside of Hartford, Connecticut, and today we are going to continue our player bio series as we look at one of the most dominant pitchers in Major League Baseball. This player had a just dominant 22-year career in the majors. He set multiple records, he was a strikeout king, and he was an easy Hall of Famer when he was eventually eligible. He also managed to win a World Series, and he was a key player in many teams' histories. Today, we are going to be discussing the career and life of Randy Johnson. Randall Johnson was born on September 10th, 1963 in Walnut Creek, California. As a child, Johnson excelled at both baseball and basketball. By the time he was a senior in high school, he stood at 6 foot 10 inches tall. During this senior season, Johnson was nothing short of dominant as a pitcher. He recorded 121 strikeouts in only 66 innings pitched. To top it off, he threw a perfect game in his final high school start. He was drafted by the Atlanta Braves in the 4th round of the 1982 MLB draft, but he decided to attend the University of Southern California, USC, instead on a full scholarship. He wanted a backup plan just in case, and Atlanta also didn't offer him enough money. So he felt. So Johnson, he spent 3 years at USC, and he was a starting pitcher while also playing basketball in 2 of those 3 years. His baseball stats were not great. He did continue to show solid strikeout numbers, but he struggled with his command and he walked a lot of batters. Regardless, Johnson was drafted in the 2nd round of the 1985 MLB draft by the Montreal Expos. He decided to sign with them, and he spent the next 3 years in the Expos minor league system. While in the minors, his strikeout numbers were still consistent and strong. He also showed improvement by cutting down on his walks. On September 15th, 1988, Randy Johnson made his MLB debut for the Montreal Expos. Johnson had a solid performance in Montreal as a rookie, going 3-0 with a 2.42 ERA, albeit through only 4 starts. Before we continue, I do have to ask, have you ever wondered how Johnson got his nickname, the Big Unit? During batting practice in 1988, the 6 foot 10 inch Johnson, then with the Expos, collided headfirst with outfielder Tim Raines, prompting his teammates to exclaim, "You're a big unit," end quote. So one of those random things that it's a story that it sounds very minor, but that nickname stuck with him for his entire career and still to this day. Now, as the 1989 season began, the Expos had high hopes for Johnson. Things did not work out as planned, though. By late May, he was 0-4 with a 6.67 earned run average, 26 walks, and 26 strikeouts. Montreal, a team that was in a win-now mood, decided to trade Johnson, as well as another pair of young arms, to the Seattle Mariners in exchange for then-ace Mark Langston. This trade was huge for the Seattle Mariners, and it did not necessarily help out the Montreal Expos. Upon joining Seattle, Johnson's problems with walks did seem to follow him. He went 7-9 with a 4.4 ERA, 104 strikeouts to 70 walks. Now, from 1990 to 92, a disturbing trend occurred. Johnson would lead the American League in walks in each of those 3 years. In 1990, he went 14-11 with a 3.65 ERA, 194 strikeouts, and 120 walks. This year was his first as an All-Star, and also featured another major milestone, his first career no-hitter. On June 2nd, Johnson threw a no-hitter against the Detroit Tigers. This was also a crucial moment in the Seattle Mariners' history, as it was the franchise's first ever no-hitter. The following year, 91, was not kind to Johnson, as he went above 500 with a 13-10 record, but he had a 3.98 ERA, and he had 228 strikeouts, but he had a career worst 152 walks. Now in 1992, Johnson added another disturbing league worst, hits batsman. So he went 12-14 that year with a 3.77 ERA, 241 strikeouts, and 144 walks. He hit 18 batters. So yeah, his command and control clearly were still problems. On the plus side, he did lead the league in strikeouts that year. This year marked the beginning of a new era for Johnson. Now he credits pitcher Nolan Ryan for his turnaround. In late 1992, Ryan and Johnson, both similar pitchers, got together. Ryan, who had been around the league for a few years at this point, he taught the young Johnson a few things that he had himself struggled with, stating that he appreciated Johnson's talents and did not want to see him take as long as Ryan did to figure out certain things. So Johnson, he flashed his potential in a game against Ryan's Rangers in late September, as he recorded 18 strikeouts in 8 innings on 160 pitches. Clearly, whatever Nolan Ryan told him helped him out. Johnson broke out onto the national stage in 1993. While he once more led the American League in hit by pitches with 16, he had a stellar year, going 19-8 with a 3.24 ERA, a league-leading 308 strikeouts, and only 99 walks. So clearly, again, Nolan Ryan was a huge help to Randy Johnson. In October, Johnson made an appearance at left field. This might sound like it's nothing, but this actually made him the tallest player to ever play in the field. Johnson, he had another stellar year in the strike-shortened 1994 season, pitching to the tune of a 3.19 ERA while leading the league in complete games with 9, shutouts with 4, and strikeouts with 204. He also had 72 walks and a 13-6 record. Somehow, Randy Johnson managed to improve even more in the 1995 season. He went an astounding 18-2 with a 2.48 ERA, adding 294 strikeouts to 65 walks. His strikeout total and ERA led the league. ERA, of course, among people who qualified. Still, notably, his .900 winning percentage easily led the league and is actually the second best in American League history of those who qualified. He easily walked away with the AL Cy Young Award after this season, and his playoff run was very impressive as well. Now, Seattle entered a one-game playoff against the California Angels, and Johnson, of course, was slated to pitch the game. He threw a complete game 3-hitter, striking out 12 batters, as the Mariners won. This set them up for an ALDS matchup with the New York Yankees. With the series looking bleak, with the Yankees up 2-0, Seattle turned to Randy Johnson in a pivotal Game 3. He played well and helped guide Seattle to a win. More impressively, he took the mound in a relief role only 2 days later, pitching the 9th, 10th, and 11th innings. With the Mariners' season on the line, Johnson played well, and the team hung on to win. And this was, of course, the stage of the double. The double was a crucial moment in the history of the team. Edgar Martinez, clutch double. Seattle won. We discussed this in the history of Seattle Mariners. So, still, this was a crucial moment in Seattle Mariners history. It upset and hurt a lot of Yankees fans, so there's also that. But it was so surprising to see this moment happen. Now, this put them in the ALCS. Now, Johnson, he still played well in the ALCS, but the Mariners were taken out 4-2. The Mariners, they lost both of Johnson's starts, but this wasn't necessarily his fault. It was just a bit of a lack of offense. So, Johnson only made 8 starts in 1996 due to a back injury. Still, though, he had a strong year, going 5-0 with a 3.67 ERA, 85 strikeouts to 25 walks. So, Johnson had another elite season in 1997, as he would go 20-4 with a 2.28 ERA, 291 strikeouts, and 77 walks. Now, as the calendar turned to 1998, Randy Johnson and the Mariners had a contract dispute. Johnson wanted a new deal as he was going to become a free agent after the 98 season came to an end. The Mariners, however, were not that interested in inking him to an extension. The 1998 season started off decently for Johnson, and through July, he didn't have the best record, but he had a 9-10 record with an ERA north of 4. So Seattle kind of figured, all right, you know what, he's not doing that well. We don't know if we want to re-sign him long-term. So as the deadline came up, the Mariners decided to deal him to the Houston Astros. Houston was in the midst of a then-franchise best season and thought that adding Randy Johnson would help them make a run to the World Series. Johnson proved to be a great addition to the team, as he would go 10-1 through 11 starts with them. 4 of those 11 starts were shutouts. Surprisingly, he actually managed to finish 7th in NL Cy Young voting, even though he only made 11 starts in the National League. Johnson pitched well in the NLDS for the Astros, allowing only 3 runs across 14 innings, but the Astros failed to give him much run support and he lost both of those games. Another disturbing trend for him. He does well in the playoffs, but his team's offenses just tend to not do it. So, all combined, in the 1998 season, Johnson went 19-11 with a 3.28 ERA. He had 329 strikeouts and 86 walks. Now, as a free agent after the 98 season, Johnson made a surprising move, signing a 5-year deal with the second-year franchise, the Arizona Diamondbacks. As crazy as it may sound, Johnson performed even better in Arizona. Johnson helped to carry the Diamondbacks to the playoffs in 1999 as he went 17-9 with an NL best 2.48 ERA, an NL best and career-high 12 shutouts on the season, NL leading 364 strikeouts and 70 walks. For this, Johnson was awarded the NL Cy Young. This made Johnson the 3rd player to win the Cy Young in both the NL and the AL. Quite an accomplishment. Johnson had another dominant season as the new millennium began, going 19-7 with a 2.64 ERA, 347 strikeouts, and 76 walks. This earned Randy his 2nd consecutive Cy Young award. While the Diamondbacks missed the playoffs that year, they did end up trading for fellow ace Curt Schilling during the season. This gave Arizona a heck of a 1-2 punch. During a spring training in 2001, Johnson had one of his most memorable moments occur. On March 24th, in a game against the San Francisco Giants, Johnson threw a fastball that struck a poor dove that happened to fly in its path. The bird turned into a, quote, sea of feathers, end quote. And I'm sure you've seen the video of this. The following season was another super strong one for Johnson and a memorable one for the Diamondbacks. If you're a Diamondbacks fan, you know what happened in 2001. Johnson pitched to a 21-6 record with a 2.49 ERA and a career-high 372 strikeouts to go with 71 walks. He won the NL Cy Young for the 3rd year in a row. Now, Johnson lost his only start in the NLDS, but after that, he was lights out in the postseason. Johnson won his last 4 starts, including 2, alongside one relief appearance, in the World Series. In the World Series that year against the New York Yankees, Johnson pitched 17 1/3 innings with a 1.04 ERA, 19 strikeouts, and 3 walks. This performance, anchored by an 11 strikeout Game 2 shutout, earned Johnson a World Series co-MVP alongside Curt Schilling. As crazy as it may sound, the big unit had an even better season in 2002. Stop me if you've heard this before. He seemed to be on a mission to repeat as a World Series champion, as he earned the Pitcher's Triple Crown, leading the National League in wins with 24, ERA with a 2.321, and strikeouts with 334. He easily won his 4th consecutive NL Cy Young award. That's right, he won 4 consecutive NL Cy Youngs. It's unheard of right now, and this was 20 years ago. He also set the record with most consecutive seasons throwing 300-plus strikeouts with 5. This record still stands today. Now, 2003 was a bit of a tough season for Johnson. He would make 18 starts, and he had been averaging about 35, so his average starts were about cut in half due to various injuries. He didn't pitch that well when he did play, as he had a 4.26 ERA. He did rebound well in 2004, though. One of the more noteworthy moments in Johnson's long career occurred on May 18th, 2004, when Randy Johnson would throw a perfect game against the Atlanta Braves. This was the first no-hitter, and of course the first perfect game in Arizona history. This was Johnson's first perfect game, second no-hitter. So even though he had turned 41 near the end of the season, the big unit still proved to be very effective. He ended the year with a 16-14 record, but he pitched to a 2.60 ERA while recording a league-high 290 strikeouts and slashing his walks down to only 44. Johnson seemed to age well like like a fine wine. However, 2004 would be Johnson's last year as an All-Star, as Father Time never loses to anyone. Prior to the 2005 season, Randy Johnson was traded to the New York Yankees. Johnson was inconsistent in 2005. While he did go 17-9, he had a 3.79 ERA and 211 strikeouts. Now, that was actually good for second in the AL, but he wasn't amazing. He wasn't as electric as he normally was. He beat up the defending World Series champion Boston Red Sox, going 5-0 against them. So he went 5-0 against the defending World Series champs. Not bad at all. While the team made the playoffs, Johnson did not play well in his only start. In 2006, Johnson went 17-11 with a career-worst 5 ERA. He did manage to record 172 strikeouts, though. Nearing the end of the season, it was discovered that he had a herniated disc in his back. After 2 disappointing seasons in the Big Apple, Johnson was dealt back to Arizona. Now, this 2007 season saw Johnson continue to deal with back problems, as he only made 10 appearances for the team. He wasn't bad in those 10 appearances. He actually had a 3.81 ERA with 72 strikeouts, but the pain was too much for him, and he had surgery to remove the disc from his back. Johnson would return in 2008, and he had a solid year, going 11-10 with a 3.91 ERA and 173 strikeouts. This season saw Johnson surpass Roger Clemens for second all-time in strikeouts. He currently still remains in second behind Nolan Ryan. Now, before the 2009 season, Johnson signed with the San Francisco Giants. While in San Francisco, he recorded his 300th career win. Other than that, his time in San Fran was pretty forgettable. He ended the year with an 8-6 record, a 4.88 ERA, and 86 strikeouts. He did miss a chunk of time due to a torn rotator cuff. At this point, though, it was clear that Father Time had finally caught up to Randy Johnson. On January 5th, 2010, Randy Johnson officially announced his retirement from baseball. Johnson had had an elite 22-year career in the majors, pitching to a 3.03 and 166 record, a 3.29 ERA, a 1.171 WHIP, 100 complete games, 4,875 strikeouts, 1,497 walks, and 190 hit-by pitches. According to Baseball Reference, he has a career WAR of 101.01. Johnson also put together some solid performances in the postseason, putting together a 7-9 record with a 3.5 ERA, 132 strikeouts, and 32 walks across 19 appearances, 16 of which were starts. Other than the stats, Johnson had an impressive collection of awards as well. He was a 10-time All-Star, 5-time Cy Young winner, 4 of which came in the NL, 1 in the AL, 1-time World Series winner, 1-time World Series co-MVP. He led the league in wins once, he led the league in ERA 4 times, and he led the league in strikeouts 9 times. He also won the Pitcher's Triple Crown 1 time in 2002. He had a no-hitter, and he had a perfect game, the first no-hitter in Seattle Mariners history, and the first no-hitter/perfect game in Arizona Diamondbacks history. He left his mark with both the Seattle Mariners and Arizona Diamondbacks. Almost immediately after announcing his retirement, the Mariners invited him to throw the first pitch of a home opener for the 2010 season. In September of 2011, Johnson and former teammate Curt Schilling threw the ceremonial first pitch in a game for the Diamondbacks, celebrating the 10th anniversary of the team's World Series win. So, yeah. In January of 2012, the Seattle Mariners inducted him into their Hall of Fame. Johnson was voted into the Baseball Hall of Fame in 2015, his first time on the ballot. He received 97.3% of the vote. Shortly after this, the Diamondbacks announced that they were retiring his number, 51. Since retiring, Johnson has focused on his second passion, photography. He has worked behind the camera at some NFL games. He has a website and an Instagram page as well. Now, that Instagram page is oddly private. I don't know why, but he has thousands of pictures on it. So, it's pretty cool. He's also made a couple of appearances on TV. including a guest role in an episode of The Simpsons. He has also starred in several commercials for brands such as Just for Men, Geico, Nike, and Pepsi. He is also a big supporter of the United Service Organizations, or USO, which is a nonprofit organization that focuses on entertaining the troops. All said and done, Randy Johnson had a fascinating 22-year career as a player. While he started off a bit slow, he really did grow with age. He threw the first no-hitter in Seattle Mariners history, as well as the first no-hitter and perfect game in Arizona Diamondbacks history. The big unit will always be remembered as a dominant pitcher who could reach 100+ miles per hour on his fastball back in the 90s, when very few pitchers could. He was a well-deserving Hall of Famer, a 5-time Cy Young Award winner, and he was pivotal in helping Arizona knock off the Yankees in the 2001 World Series. No matter what, Randy Johnson will be remembered as one of the best pitchers of all time. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. This was the player bio discussing Randy Johnson. He's definitely one of the guys who, I didn't see him play too much as a kid because he was always playing on the West Coast, and I did see him play for the Yankees, but never in person. But I do remember when Randy Johnson retired. Again, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. This was the player bio of Randy Johnson. Have a good rest of your day.